Hello everyone and welcome to the January Dev Diary for Prehistoric Kingdom. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of good stuff in this Dev Diary talking about Prehistoric Kingdom's future and just a few things I'm going to be pulling from the new Trello, well the updated Trello board to have a look at what's coming in the next few updates. And yeah, as you can see, we have a new look at Ontogeny with these cute little cave lion cubs. So let's get into it, shall we? So first up, we're going to be talking about Prehistoric Kingdom's Patreon, how they're going to how they've started this up to help fund the game. So, as usual with all these dev diaries, I am simply narrating what has been written in the dev diary itself. So, by opening a Patreon, we're hoping to help ensure that development remains stable throughout the remainder of early access. As of this dev's diary, we have 7 major updates left to complete before we can consider the game ready to leave early access. Beyond keeping this game alive, the main benefit of becoming a patron will be accessing will be able to access exclusive polls, sneak peeks, and our weekly development summaries that provide an informal look at what we've been up to. Our monthly dev diaries won't be going anywhere, but certain things from the Patreon will be kept exclusive. If you are in a position to help support the longevity of Prehistoric Kingdom through Patreon, we would be incredibly grateful. So, yeah. Moving on to a few features that will be coming in the next update. Update 14 will feature the first iteration of Ontogeny, bringing baby animals to Prehistoric Kingdom. Using an age slider in the animal nursery, players will be able to preview the growth of a species and create animals at a specific age. When placed in the park, they'll grow from baby to an adult. So yeah, you can see our little baby T-Rex here having a little hop about. Here's a sped up demonstration of how growth works, using the mammoth as an example. Note how there are no model swaps or sharp transitions. Instead, its proportions, shape, and skin seamlessly changing over time. So yeah, that's a really cool display of the ontogeny here, and it is something that I certainly have considered Jurassic World Evolution 3 to implement and Planet Zoo. Like, you can see just how seamless it is, and just how, as this animal will grow into its full-grown form. It's going to be really cool to see this happening in our parks, and yeah, look at the little baby mammoth. I think we've got another better look at him on the next one. So yeah, we're still working on the little guy, but here's an up-close look at the current baby mammoth. They're certainly different without their massive tusks, and they certainly are. So there was actually a little recent update to Prehistoric Kingdom where they added a bit of sexual dimorphism into the mammoth. So the mammoth males have much larger tusks, and the females having much smaller tusks. And you can sort of see that there on the female mammoth to the left of our little mammoth calf. Oh look, his feet have much shorter hair. That's pretty cool. But yeah, the mammoth looks cute. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the ontogeny system, and I think we're not quite done with it just yet. To make babies extra cute, they'll have their own locomotion to make them bouncier and more wobbly than the adults. It definitely makes the T-Rex much less intimidating. So yeah, you can see our little baby T-Rex then goes up into a juvenile, and just showing how the locomotion will change as the animals age. And I think that's going to be really cool to watch, just seeing these little dinosaurs slowly go from being quick little little scamps and becoming bulky and just massive dinosaurs. So it's going to be really cool to see that happen in our parks. Babies like those of the cave lion are especially adorable. We love how these little kittens came out with their soft faces and massive paws. We bet they just can't wait to be king. Wonder what that's from. On a technical level, we're implementing ontogeny so that upcoming behaviors such as sociality and combat can factor it in from the start. It also allows us to observe how babies fit into the gameplay loop, before more advanced features such as breeding are added at the end of early access. So yeah, we've got another shot here of just how cute these little lions are. Really looking forward to seeing these guys. And the saber-toothed cubs, I'm curious to see what they'll look like. As mentioned in a previous dev diary, one of the benefits of this approach is enhanced sexual dimorphism. For things like mammoths, we can stop their growth early to give females shorter tusks. It'll certainly make herds look even more diverse. And yeah, you certainly got quite a diverse herd here. All different sized tusks, and all different ages too. Yeah, mammoth herds are really cool to think about because there's just going to be so many different mammoths. And one thing I will mention right here is I do kind of want the Colombian mammoth as an alternate species because I'd certainly love to see it. Like, they're a really cool species, but yeah, that's just a little wish list animal I thought I'd put here. So, now we move on to first person mode. This highly requested feature will let players explore their park from the eyes of a human, walking, running and jumping their way around the zoo. We'd really like for players to be able to interact with attractions such as binoculars and in a later update, incorporate basic managerial tasks such as refilling feeders or clearing dung in exchange for an upfront cost. We feel this would not only increase the sense of Prehistoric Kingdom being your zoo, but provide a more active way for players to engage with the park itself alongside staff. This is something we need in Planet Zoo. And Jurassic World Evolution 3. Like, come on, first person mode's such a cool feature. And especially with animals of this scale, and the ones that we've got in Planet Zoo, it would be a really fun feature. Frontier, if you watch this video, please, I would love to see it. Now we talk about the future, so sociality and herding. Most of sociality will revolve around herding and how animals respond to each other. Depending on things like competitiveness or the territoriality of an animal, this can result in social behavior like friendly communication, scaring off competing herds, and running away from threats. Long term, we want to focus on the herd structure and how animals move up and down the ranks. Seeing herd leaders challenged in competitive species or animals playfully chasing each other in more social ones. I certainly look forward to seeing a Triceratops rutting, because that would be really that would be really fun to watch. Mixed herds is a concept where small species would essentially magnetize two larger ones, as long as they're compatible. They're still totally independent social groups, but it mimics the commensalism that you'd find in the real world. So in this image we can see our Brachiosauruses, as well as some Dryosaurus and a little Camarasaurus in the back. Now onto a different topic, so social behavior or social animation. A question we often see is if Prehistoric Kingdom will have social animations. This refers to the idea of a highly choreographed synced animation between two or more animals, usually showcasing some sort of canned physical interaction. At this stage we'll be focusing on social behavior, animal AI instead. Not only are social animations out of our current budget, but they have problems with seamless ontogeny and individual size variation that can only be solved with a heavy tech investment. Regardless of those circumstances, we view social animations as more of the cherry on top, and should not form the basis for sociality in Prehistoric Kingdom. Now we get to one of my favourite parts of the dev diary, combat and hostility. Combat is being designed as a dynamic system, making use of triggerable attacks and additive animations. This would allow animals to injure each other while moving around and perform actions such as biting or horn stabs. It's important for us to prioritise not only the scalability of aggressive interactions across species, but to consider the size of our team too. Going dynamic means we can build something that's variable and potentially more reactive for a lower cost, rather than something built around hundreds of cinematic but ultimately predetermined animations. With that in mind, here are some mock-up images using our current library of prototype animations. They depict an incoming attack and a bite and hit reaction, so that one's a really cool one. I'm really interested to see how this system will go further. Below is a short animation test demonstrating how a threatened pose could be combined with locomotion and various attacks to create the appearance of an angry animal. Keep in mind that combat is in such early pre-production that we're not worrying about polish or making it overly sophisticated yet. We just need animations to test with. And they're certainly pretty good right now. I love this bite animation, the lunge, and the roaring that also takes place. And just this crouched pose in engaging an opponent. It may not surprise you, but a lot of prehistoric plants are only known from leaves. We've been working with Tom Parker, scientific illustrator and author who worked on Saurian, to ensure that our interpretations are scientifically plausible. For many species, Prehistoric Kingdom will be the first time some of these plants have been recreated in 3D. All 8 in-game biomes will offer Paleobotany, though the majority of species will be going towards scrubland, tropical, wetland and coastal. So Paleobotany is currently planned to feature around 30 extinct species of foliage when it's finished, including fan favourites such as Araucaria or the monkey puzzle trees, Chimeriella, Zamites, and Ginkgos. Below you can see some of our first assets created for the coastal biome. So we have Conia terrace, Eobowenia, Nilsonia, and Toadites. I don't know if I butchered any of those names. I probably butchered some of them, but it's a really cool selection of different plants, and I'm really looking forward to creating a prehistoric landscape with them. For the ginkgo trees, we have 2 different species, one from the Jurassic, Ginkgo yemaensis, I think that's supposed to be how it's said, and one from the Cretaceous, Ginkgo adiantoides. It's incredible to think that ginkgos date all the way back to the Carboniferous, before the dinosaurs. We decided to give them unique growth habits to better align them to the coastal and temperate biomes with the added benefit of increasing their visual diversity. So yeah, we've got little shrubs, saplings, and then going up into full-blown trees. In terms of gameplay, we plan to create unique dig sites specifically for Paleobotany. They'd be scattered across the world much like our animals are. Placing compatible Paleobotany within a habitat would not only provide enrichment for the animals, but increase their animal points rating too. We will continue to show more plants coming with Paleobotany as the year progresses. Now we get on to possibly my favourite part of this, so terrariums. So terrariums are an upcoming set of modules that will replace the existing mini exhibit system, acting as a rebrand of sorts. Like before, these facilities will have simplified versions of the animals that would be otherwise difficult to include in regular habitats, typically due to their size, unique locomotion or ontogeny requirements. Our goal with Terrariums is to better integrate them into regular gameplay, expand their customization options, and revisit their pipeline so it's easy to set up new species. Terrariums will have 3 configurations to switch between: amphibious, arboreal, and terrestrial. Each configuration will change the inside of the tank, making it more comfortable for your chosen species. Amphibious features a shallow pool and terrain for semi-aquatic animals. Arboreal features a set of trees for arboreal animals to perch on or jump between. Terrestrial features elevated terrain with viewable burrows for animals to hide in. Each of these configurations will have a small 4x8 and a large 8x12 version to replace the current mini aviary. The small version will be especially great for custom reptile houses or adding little installations throughout the zoo. So this is a very early mock-up and not final design. So players will need to set terrariums to use the right substrate, climate setting, and provide enrichment in order to satisfy their terrarium animals. Beyond these few options, we're planning to keep the inside sparse so that players can go crazy adding their own foliage and create dedicated terrarium prefabs. There will also be null styling for further flexibility, allowing players to visually combine multiple terrariums or sink them into the ground. In terms of management, keepers will need to supply terrariums with food and clean them in order to keep your animals happy and healthy. When disease is added, terrarium animals would get sick too. So, regarding animals, Archaeopteryx and Microraptor will be joined by the Compsognathus, Tiktaalik, and Chi, with more being revealed later in the year. Since these critters are being rebranded to terrarium animals, it certainly opens the door for some larger species. And they just look beautiful. I'm a real big fan of Chi. It's a really cool animal. Tiktaalik as well, and Compsognathus we have grown to become very familiar with. But I'm really excited about the latter two because I've never seen them in a game, and Tiktaalik I've known about for many years, and it's one of the coolest fish species. That's sort of an intermediate between the fish and the tetrapods back in the Devonian era. So this will be our oldest animal in Prehistoric Kingdom for a while. And Chi is a literal dragon, so that's one thing that really makes it cool. Those elongated fingers to create a wing, and yeah, that is going to be one cool animal to see in Prehistoric Kingdom. I mean, I kind of knew about this one for a little while since back on the Trello page there was actually an image showcasing the new nursery, and they actually accidentally revealed two names, so one being Chi and the other being Allosaurus fragilis. So both those animals are coming, and now we know what Chi is going to roughly look like. And yeah, it's a really nice design. I love the feathers and the wings and the sexual dimorphism between them too, so that the females has much shorter tail feathers. And lucky for them, those tail feathers are more for display than for actual steering in the air, similar to other dinosaurs that evolved flight. Although I'm not sure if Ichi properly evolved flight or if it glided. But it'd be pretty cool to know if it actually flew with powered flight. That would be a really cool animal to see. Really recreate some dragon scenarios. So, inspired by real-world zoos and fun fairs, we've begun looking into potential flat rides to add to Prehistoric Kingdom. These researchable modules would add a significant amount of attraction points to the park rating, giving guests something to do when they're not watching animals behind fences. In particular, we've been considering a Ferris wheel, theatre, and a hot air balloon that would float straight up to give guests a good view of the park. If you had any suggestions that would fit the game's tone, we'd love to hear them. So that flat rides page was actually the end of the dev diary. I mean, there was a little bit extra showcasing some pretty cool screenshots as well, but I thought I'd take the opportunity to showcase the updated Trello board. So we get a look at our next updates. So update 14 is the animal ontogeny and life cycle, as well as featuring first person mode. Update 15 will be AI animal enrichment, a new species which if you go on the Patreon you'll know what it is. Well, if you join the Patreon, you should be able to find out what it is. I mean, you got a little shot there of what I was able to get, but yeah. So AI socializing will also be there, herding and packing, and paleobotany. Update 16, this is a chunky one, will add animal health and wellness, disease, and death. Staff will include vets, so we'll be getting veterinarians. We'll also be getting flat rides. I mean, all of this is subject to change, and depending on whether they're able to complete these things in time for an update, that will determine whether they're in it. There'll also be a new nursery menu and animal gene editing, as well as the new terrariums. So we've got the Compsognathus, the Chi, the Tiktaalik, and 6 other new creatures that are going to be added with them. So we're going to be getting 9 new species in update 16, so that's going to be really cool. So we've got 2 carnivores, an insectivore, a piscivore, and 2 herbivores. So leave your thoughts in the comments as to what you think those could be. Update 17 will include a herbivore, a carnivore, and a frugivore, as well as animal combat. Update 18 will include 2 piscivores, a carnivore, the wetland biome, and engineers. So that's going to be an interesting one. So we're going to be getting a new map for the wetlands biome, and it makes sense as to why we'll get 2 piscivores, but what could they be? I have a feeling one of them is going to be Baryonyx, because Baryonyx is one of the most iconic of the piscivorous dinosaurs. Austroraptor would be another really cool one, but it could be a mammal instead. So I've heard rumors that Ambulocetus might be a future animal, and certainly that would be a cool one, but I don't know whether it was necessarily a piscivore or a carnivore, so it could potentially fill that carnivore slot. But there's plenty of other different animals that can be piscivores. We could even expect maybe a crocodile like Deinosuchus or Sarcosuchus, or one of the various prehistoric crocodilians. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to think about. And then we have the last two updates on the Trello board, with update 19 adding one new species, a frugivore, so that's going to be an interesting one, and AI animal nesting and breeding. And then update 20 featuring gameplay scenarios and 6 new species, 2 predators and 4 herbivores. So I have a feeling that's going to be probably a mix of dinosaurs and mammals, I would like to assume. But yeah, there's certainly a few animals that I'm curious to see when they'll be added, like Stegosaurus, Allosaurus. Like, we know both of those guys are coming because they're very iconic, and Allosaurus I figured out was coming. But Carnotaurus could potentially show up, as that was part of the original roster for the game. Whether it's going to be still part of it or added in a DLC, we don't know. A Megaraptoran would be another cool addition, and maybe a different kind of a Belosaur, other than Carnotaurus. Herbivores, I would certainly like to see a Therizinosaurus, or any member of the Therizinosaur group. Could see a smaller sauropod, like possibly a Margosaurus or Bahadasaurus. Yeah, there's tons of dinosaurs and other creatures that can be considered. Out of the mammals, I would certainly love Megatherium, Didicurus, and even for a predator role, Andrewsarchus and the Daeodon would be pretty cool additions. And I know that I think there's Hyenodon, and there was the giant longhorned bison. They were other members of the original Cenozoic roster that we have not received yet. But another one I would like to see is not a mammal, but a bird. So I'd like to see at least one terror bird, whether it be Forest Racus, Calancan, Titanus, or various others. But yeah, so that's what's in the pipeline right now. All of this is subject to change, and yeah, really excited to see all this come to fruition. Prehistoric Kingdom is, yeah, turning out to be probably the best dinosaur park management sim yet. Sorry, Jurassic World Evolution. But yeah, Prehistoric Kingdom is really reaching for the sky. And yeah, that is all. As you can see, there is a lot of great stuff in the works, but the future of Prehistoric Kingdom is uncertain. Any extra support we can get would be extremely appreciated to keep the game going. In the meantime, we'll be releasing progress summaries on Patreon, with the next dev diary releasing at the end of February. So there you go. Dev diaries are still going to be happening, and it will be at the end of February. And yeah, the future is uncertain, and it is a tough time, and it's tough when you're an indie game developer, when you're your own team and stuff, and you're working in early access. Like, Prehistoric Kingdom has been in production for 10 years or more. Like, I think it is 10 years, and it's gone through so many changes. But like, if we can keep this game going, it will turn into something. It will continue to be something very special, and will become truly great. But yeah, so that is all for this dev diary and the Trello board. And let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what species you think will be coming in the future, what you think of the new Terrariums, the Ontogeny, the combats, all that stuff. Looking really exciting. Lots of exciting times ahead. But yeah, got to keep this game alive. Long live Prehistoric Kingdom. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.